Alright, so coming out of Jessica Jones Season 2, there are a lot of things to talk about and discuss. This season was met with a lot of different opinions. Some people loved it and some didn't like it just as much. Personally, the major change in tone was a bit off-putting at first, but once you get used to it and embrace the change, Season 2 stood strong as a character-driven story, following in the footsteps of Season 1 by dealing with a lot of serious themes and being pretty depressing overall, actually. This video is not going to be a review of the show, but if you do care or want for some reason to hear what I thought of it, please do let me know and I'll do a video on it. In this video, we're going to address some of the things and outright hate that I've seen towards a particular character. This video do contain spoilers for Jessica Jones Season 2, so if you don't want any spoilers, please go and watch the show and save this video for later. Also, at this point, I have like 8 word pages of notes of my own and also opinions of people online, so this might be a long video. Not to mention, it might lack all types of structure as I'm trying to get all my thoughts down, but I do hope that it makes sense to at least some degree. Also, this video is sort of a mix of my own take on Trish Walker as a character and other people's subjective thoughts. There's no answer to what is right unless the creator of the character makes an essay of it or something, but I do like to believe that I'm pretty close to understanding what the character is supposed to be and just how it was intended to be. Feel free to grab a coffee, a hot chocolate, some snacks, and get comfortable because it's time to dive into some character study. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about what makes a good character. A good character is necessarily the good character, good in the ways that they're doing all the right things, making all the right decisions at all times. Character development doesn't mean that a character gets better, it just means that they get developed, fleshed out, stripped down to their core. When people, for instance myself, say that Trish Walker is one of my favorite characters, a lot of people have been jumping me online asking how it is possible for me to like a character that just messes up so much that was just turned into a train wreck in Season 2. I do stand by my opinion because I believe that Trish is a great character, therefore, one of my favorites because of the very fact that she messes up so much and she falls off the deep end and just becomes a train wreck, pretty much. Because she isn't the good character, but for the fact that she is a good character. Because she's developed and explored, we know her history and now we do know her. She's self-obsessed but wants to save people, a recovering addict with self-destructive behavior. That's as much a character as any. There's layers and layers that need to be broken up, analyzed, and explained, and I think we should just get to it. Trish Walker is a self-righteous junkie who thinks she's right, she's very stubborn, and stays true to her beliefs and convictions. As you can see, there are plenty of reasons to truly dislike her, but as the title of this video suggests, we are going to look at the things that she did in order to get a deeper understanding of the character. If you hate Trish after watching this, that's entirely up to you, and I totally can get why you would do that, but I do hope that at least this gives you some perspective, like it did to me after doing all the research for this piece. Trish Walker did a 180. This is a thing that I often see in the discussions around Trish Walker, that Trish Walker did a 180. The people who says this must only be paying attention to Kilgrave in Season 1, or it has been a while since they saw it. Kilgrave was amazing, and I don't really blame anyone for not having eyes for anything but him, but if you do think that Trish's ambitions and goals weren't alluded to properly enough in Season 1, you clearly haven't been paying attention. In Season 1, they established so much about Trish as a character. We know that she was a child star turned radio influencer who in her past was abused by her mother, pretty much sold into the entertainment industry and heavily struggled with addiction, going in and out of rehab several times, her entire life broadcast for the world to see. We also know that she wants to help take down Kilgrave so we can't use more people, that she turned her apartment into a fortress, ignoring to answer Jessica when she asks her what she was afraid of, and that she's been training excessively to be able to protect herself. When we meet Trish in Season 1, we're presented with a character who's been controlled all her life and that has done a lot of things to try to regain that control. She's desperate to help, but also makes stupid mistakes in the process, like shooting out the glass of the sin bin to try to eliminate Kilgrave and putting herself in harm's way to expose him to the world. She's paranoid and scared, but she also has a strong sense of justice, wanting to save the world. She wants to help, she's reckless but headstrong, and she has an iron will. It sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Trish Walker didn't do a 180, she just simply stayed on the path that was already laid out for her. Moving on. Being a hero is something Trish wants in both Seasons 1 and 2. A lot of people dismiss Trish as a selfless bitch, calling her trash, without seemingly trying to understand where she's coming from, because her reasons are there if you actually want to look for them. Look, I'm not really condoning all of Trish's actions, but all I'm saying is that there's so much more to everything that you see. I'm not saying that all of her actions are justified, just that they're very human and show a vulnerable person who has a lot of growing up to do. It's impossible for me to talk about Trish as just a selfish idiot considering her history, the same way that it's very hard for me to talk about Jessica as a selfish idiot for breaking the law and protecting her mother, who's killed a lot of people, considering her history.
I don't get you. You have money, looks, a radio show, creepy if not adoring fans, and you're a freaking household name. What more do you want? To save the world, of course.
This dialogue from season 1 really stands out for me, and it makes it even more obvious that Trish always had the drive to help others ever since Jessica saved her from her abusive hell. Jessica says that she has everything, asks her what more she could possibly want, to which she responds, to save the world, of course. What I get from this is that Trish isn't content with her position and what she does, and that she has a drive to be a hero in the vigilante type of way, which is exactly how she feels in season 2 as well. So there's no 80 here at all. So why does Trish want her powers? The thing is, the key point to understanding Trish Walker as a character is to understand that she never had anything that she wanted. Trish Walker never had anything that she wanted, and the people online who keeps arguing against that fact need to watch the show again. Thing is, Trish Walker had her mother's dream. She had money and status, which might be everything to some, but not to her, which she literally says in the dialogue I just presented. She never asked for it. Reddit user SoyNugget95 put my thoughts to paper. She didn't want to be sold to networks for her mother's obsession with attention and fame, and she didn't want to get pimped out. Emotional fulfillment and healthy relationships don't come from fame or money. She didn't even reject all help. She went to rehab and got clean. This season saw her spiraling downward again, but originally, that's not what happened. I'm not sure if you ever had trauma-related mental health or addiction problems, but you should take it from someone who has, and it's not that damn simple. You aren't going to reach out for help when everyone around you has only ever used you for her own gain. Hello? Yeah, she went to shit and was a real bitch, but y'all seriously don't understand, do you? Child fame is a risk factor for all kinds of awful shit, not because it's a bunch of spoiled rich kids who can't handle everything not being about them, but because most of them are abused and betrayed and exploited over and over until they can't take it anymore. It's not really fair to boil that down to some bad stuff happened. That's really minimizing the trauma that she went through. Just because she turned into a bitch doesn't mean that her life was perfect or that she had everything. She had the fancy flashy stuff, but none of that means anything if you don't have basic human needs. I'm sick of people thinking that money or fame, everything, could ever erase all the deeper shit that people go through. All her life, Trish has been controlled, and this season is about trying to get it back one way or another. With powers, she will never feel threatened or used like she has always been. When Jessica saved her using her powers in the throwbacks of season 1, she did what Trish was never strong enough to do herself. But now, with superpowers of her own, maybe she could help herself and others. I can see how Trish would look at powers as a means of salvation. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the actual moment where Trish's dreams of getting powers began. Also, because Jessica saved Trish and is in her eyes her hero, she also truly believes that Jessica can be a hero for other people too, which is why she pushes her in that direction. Trish is very similar to her mother in the way that she tries to live a life of heroism through Jessica, just like Dorothy tries to live a life of fame through her. Trish Walker never had anything that she wanted, but now that she knows what she wants and that there's a possibility of getting it, she grabs the opportunity, holds it with two hands, and never lets it go. Trish is selfish because all her life she's been used and abused, and now she's trying to put her life back to get ahead of things. Sure, wanting to get your life back on track and finding a purpose is kind of selfish if you think about it, but looking back at what a mess her life has always been, it's hard for me to outright hate her, even if I don't support everything that she did. I can't find it in me to simply minimize the trauma that she went through by saying that she's just a self-obsessed bitch who's obsessed with getting powers, because who wouldn't be obsessed with getting powers after being powerless all their lives? So why does Trish want powers? Because powers will be a part of her that she wants, something that she can control, be proud of, and make her stronger. Thing is, in season 2, no one took her seriously as Trish Walker. Her past would always come back to haunt her, the addict part, her mother part, and the patsy part. Jessica, the most important person for Trish, keeps using the "Do you know who this is" card, and she even says in episode 10 that you single-handedly almost took down IGH with the patsy wig and the cell phone. Jessica tries to comfort Trish, but that is not helping at all, and it's actually very sad if you really think about it. The thing is, Trish has tried to spend her entire life trying to move away from Patsy, and it is hard to imagine just how much it hurts when her painful past gets thrown in her face at every turn. The only thing that can get her what she wants is the Patsy wig. She can't just be Trish and do heroic things the way she wants to, because it's Patsy who gets her favors and people do things for Patsy. So this line is basically Jessica telling her what her mother has always tried to say: you are your brand, and that's how you achieve things. It's sad, and it just fuels Trish's insecurities even further. Trish being Patsy is kind of a big deal the entire season. Trish wants to be a hero and get powers, but in order to get there she acts selflessly in the name of being selfish. This proves that it's not all strictly for self-gain, like a lot of the attacks towards the character seem to imply, Because if she wanted to do what's best for herself, she'd never revisit her Patsy past like she repeatedly did in the series. For instance, she was literally wearing the wig in the very first scene, when I personally think that she should have burned that thing ages ago. And not to mention, she revisited Max, who used her and raped her, and then she was crying hysterically in the dark by a trailer. We just conveniently forget that she also humiliated herself to shreds and tore open old wounds just to try to help Jessica. Remember how many times she used Patsy and hurt herself deliberately in order to try to advance the situation? Because I do. Following this line, Jessica says to Trish that she's not the best person a recovering addict should be around right now and dismissing her. We're not going to get into all the shit Jessica deals with, but this scene, where Jessica lets her best friend go when she knows she's relapsing on dangerous drugs and needs help, parallels perfectly with the flashback rooftop scene in episode 7, in the way that it is complete opposite. It shows us that Jessica makes a huge mistake, the complete opposite of what she did in the flashback, which what she did actually saved Trish's life. Look, I'm not aiming to blame Trish's relapse on Jessica, but Jessica repeatedly says that Trish is the most important person in her life, and she knows that Trish is an addict, and that she's relapsing, and that she's not there for her. Yet, she lets Trish fall apart by doing nothing, and if there's anything that can help an addict, it is to not leave them alone and have them feel like they lost everything, but helping them or getting them help. At this point in the series, Trish threw away her radio show while being under the influence, and she had nothing but her ambition to get Powers and Jessica, but now she loses Jessica as well. Jessica asks Trish if she's okay, to which she responds, yeah, with bloodshot eyes and obvious fidgeting, and Jessica just lets it slide. I've been discussing a lot of Tumblr, and I got this message from @ToKeepYouHappy. I guess they wanted to show us that they make each other better. Kinda all season they've been divided, weren't there for each other, and the lack of support led to a series of mistakes on both parts. Paralleling the flashback episode where after they fight they separate and Trish keeps on being high with no control while Jessica starts stealing stuff, when at the end they come together and they start to get better. The flashbacks showed us Jessica and Trish eventually managing to deal with their mess together instead of apart, and in the present we see them trying to deal with it alone and imploding in on themselves. That just shows us viewers how important they are to each other and that their relationship is truly the core of the show. In this season, Jessica and Trish are way more similar than people seem to realize, and a lot of people excuse Jessica without turning around to try to understand Trish. They're both survivors in different ways, both of rape as well, no less, and doing shit against their will. They're both incredibly flawed and broken and does selfish things this season that ultimately causes pain and death around them. Trish killing Alyssa. Now I'm getting to the part which truly divided the fans, and it was the final straw for a lot of people in regards to Trish. In the season finale, the tension between Trish and Alyssa ends with a bullet to the head and brains splattered all over. I hope I'm not the only one who very early realized that only one of the two would make it out of the season alive. And it was very painful to see Jessica bonding closer and closer to her mother when I knew that she would most likely end up dead. However, having Trish kill Eliza in the spot of old memories was pretty morbid to say the least, and I think they deliberately did that to make the audience dislike Trish even further. I do think that it was a wasted opportunity to not have them fight it out, and perhaps through that fight, Trish's powers would have been revealed, and Jessica would have had to make a choice, one over the other. But a lot of the criticism towards Trish is her narrow-minded type of thinking. The entire season she believed that Alyssa was the enemy without seemingly trying to understand Jessica's position. The difficult part here is that Jessica didn't really try to see her mother as anything but her mother as well, even if her mother killed people and most likely would have been impossible to control, or only be able to control with her around at all times, sort of paralleling Kilgrave in season 1. Trish says herself why she believed killing Alyssa was right. I had to save you, she says. While you can argue that she might have had more selfish reasons, like keeping Jessica to herself or whatever, I actually think that she truly meant it like she said. She had to save Jessica. The theme of the two of them saving each other has been really important throughout both of the seasons, and it is also probably one of the reasons why Trish feels so powerless. Look at it like this. Jessica was there to help protect Trish from her mother. Jessica was there to help save Trish from addiction. Jessica was there to save Trish from Kilgrave. But what has Trish been able to save Jessica from? What has Trish had the power to save Jessica from? Arguably, from Trish's point of view, not a lot. What's really messed up, though, is that she doesn't really know a lot about Alyssa's condition or the nature of it, and yet she feels entitled to be right about her, even telling Jessica to kill her. That was crossing the line. But I think what truly tipped Trish off the edge is the fact that the cops would have most likely shot them both, or in the very least charged Jessica with something for helping Alyssa escape, and her entire life Trish has believed that Jessica isn't a murderer and is a good person and can be a hero who doesn't deserve to go to prison. Also, considering the situation, the only thing that Trish didn't know was that Alyssa was willing to kill to avoid being caught. Trish killed Alyssa to save Jessica, literally save her from getting shot, and knowing she would never give Alyssa up, saving her the pain of having to take her own mother down if she went crazy killing all the cops, in the process risking her own relationship with Jessica. Again, Trish didn't know about the nature of Alyssa's condition, and taking the choice away from Jessica was horrible, but considering the situation, I don't think it would have ended any other way. Taking into consideration how the entire situation looked from Trish's point of view, it did make sense for her to do what she did. It's actually kind of interesting when you think about it, that Trish's questionable behavior almost had a universally good outcome for everyone in the series, because she basically just saved the day. Jessica didn't get any legal responsibility, IGH was exposed and ended, Alyssa went out instantly and painless, and the world got rid of a mass murderer, so... Addiction. We've been talking a lot about Trish's past and need for control because she never had any, and in conclusion we can say that what she did was for selfish reasons that can sort of be understood and make sense in terms of her history as a character. The last point we're going to get to is the inhaler and Trish's relapse into addiction. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on addiction, but for this part I'm going to use internet sources and online comments. Also, I did find some really great posts on Tumblr which addresses, for instance, Trish and Malcolm, and please take a minute to read that as well, link in the description, because I'm not really going to bring that up here, and that post put it into words way better than I ever could, so you should totally read that. I'll also include a couple of other text posts and stuff like that you can read that really gives a lot of more insight on Trish. That again are way better than something that I could ever do. Here are some beliefs that are common to most people with substance abuse problems. They have tried to stop drinking or using drugs but have failed and have lost all hope that they can ever succeed in being free of alcohol or drugs. They have seen their substance abuse destroy relationships and they don't believe that they can be repaired. They believe that they have ruined their lives and have lost hope of ever having a normal life. Honestly, I think all of these apply to Trish. Perhaps she manages to get free of the drugs themselves, but the high, the feeling of power and control, I don't think that will ever disappear for her, and now that she's tasted it, she doesn't want to go back to being powerless ever again, even if it kills her. The last point is worth talking about as well. Trish pretty much destroys her career, and it's pretty obvious that she firmly believes at this point that her normal life is over and that being a hero is the only way to go for her. The kind of black and white thinking, impulsivity, and strident justification for the shittiest of choices is exactly how an addict acts. It's also worth to mention that whatever was in the inhaler wasn't your normal drug, and it was also said that a human would have died of it, and who couldn't really know what it did to Trish's brain. Addiction is not a character flaw, it's a disease, and we know that she's a good person very deep down, but when a relapse happened, they're pretty much back at square one. We've also talked a lot about Trish's past, and we know that she's had plenty of reasons to drown her out of her pain with drugs. Undoubtedly, without the drugs, Trish would have still pursued a quest for getting powers, but maybe she would have made smarter choices along the way and not just been as reckless and more rational. It's worth to mention that you can't really blame all the wrongdoings this season on her, just her being under the influence, because she wasn't when she used her best friend's family's ashes to emotionally manipulate her into pursuing a story that Jessica had repeatedly told her she wanted no part of. She made truly stupid mistakes, and that is just how Trish is as a character. I think that she genuinely wants to help people, save people and herself, and get the truth and justice out there, even if it means crossing the lines in order to do so. Looking back at season 2, we can't really excuse Trish for a lot of things that she did. She did selfish shit, stupid shit, a lot of wrong things. The road to hell is paved with good intentions really does apply to her. Even as much as I love Trish, I know that she royally screwed up several times, and I can see why people would despise her for it. I even despise a lot of the things that she did. I don't doubt that season 3 will be the time where karma catches up to her and that she learns about the dark side of having powers, the responsibility, and how her actions affected those around her. She would probably crash and burn spectacularly, which can be something those who don't like her can look forward to, but we all know what happens after she's been in hell. But I do hope that after listening to this, we've all learned more about Trish as a character and at least to some degree, try to understand why she did what she did, and that way from now on we'll be able to criticize her character because we have the foundation to do so. She was traumatized over and over again, in ways few of us ever have or ever will, and in this season she was re-traumatized in rapid succession that resulted in a terrible relapse. She's not innocent, but minimalizing everything she's been through is wrong, and it is an insult to characters and real-life people similar to her. I think that it's time to stop with the blind hate without any substance, because it's very sad to see the work of the writers and the actors put into these characters go to waste. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this mess of a video. I hope it did make sense to some degree. While I'm reading up the script, it doesn't really make any sense, so I'm like, what am I doing? Honestly, I just had too many thoughts after finishing the season, and I just wanted to share them with you all. My brain is just a messy place of thoughts, and my notes are even worse. Thank you for watching. Again, leave a like if you had a good time, and remember that I love to talk to you about this character and season 2 of Jessica Jones, so do leave a comment down below. And wake me up when season 3 gets here. Thank you!